Good morning, Vande Matram. Welcome all of you. This morning we are going to discuss on two ways of avoiding the snare of woman. Two ways of avoiding the snare of woman. As quoted by Sri Aurobindo, he has the big formula, best formula. It is given in clear-cut manner, in the crystal clear way. Sri Aurobindo has advised us how to escape the snares of women. How? Because we are almost sometimes or most of the times we are trapped in their snare. So how to out of our greed, our lust, our sexual desire or passion, whatever you feel, most of the times we feel we are in the snare or trappings of the woman. So here Sri Aurobindo gives very interesting formula how to escape the snares of women. So here we'll see everything from thoughts and aphorisms. Sri Aurobindo quotes, there are two ways of avoiding the snare of woman. One is to shun all women. Very interesting. To shun all women. Second, other is to love all beings. As we have known in the ashram, one boy and one girl, they approached the mother and said, "We are in love." So mother just again went into trance and advised them, you just try to widen your love, inspire instead of loving among each other, among you too. So you just try to widen your love so that everything will, almost a lot of things will come into your grasp, your embrace you can find. So widen your love. Here two great methods we are methodically given by the master. First is to shun all the women. Second actually is to love all beings. So this is the great advice from Sri Aurobindo we have seen. And the second, simultaneously we complain that she tempted me, the lady, the woman tempted me. Sri Aurobindo tries to, in a sigh of mockery, Sri Aurobindo actually tries to explain, of course, how really we are befooling ourselves. Nobody is befooling, but we are ourselves befooling us. Sri Aurobindo quotes in Thoughts and Aphorism. This is 303. Previous was 304. Now, if a woman has tempted thee, is it her fault or thine? That's what Sri Aurobindo quotes in clear cut, in a very clear tone. If a woman tempted thee, is it her fault or thine? Be not fool and a self-deceit. Sri Aurobindo has quoted the terms like fool, self-deceiver. It is be not a fool and self-deceiver. Sri Aurobindo again quotes, so these are the great terms on woman we have seen. Woman, they have been given a magnificent importance in the yoga because if they will, they can do a lot in the process of transformation, and because they are almost so far the family life is concerned, so far the society is concerned, they are taking a very pivotal role where they are staying at the center and carrying out entire world around, being a pivot, everything circles around them. So they can do a lot. They have the capacity, they have got the efficiency, they have got the courage, they have got the knowledge, and of course they know the goal. But thing is that they must be known how to run the smooth society in a very delightful manner. Again we are going to the next one. Sri Aurobindo quotes, ascetism is no doubt very healing. Very interesting. Asceticism is no doubt very healing. A cave, very peaceful, and the hilltops wonderfully pleasant. Very interesting. Sri Aurobindo has quoted a lot of things have been told by here. Asceticism is no doubt very healing. Number two, a cave, very peaceful, and a hilltop wonderfully pleasant. Nevertheless, do thou act in the world as God intended thee? That is what the question, that is what the point that to be observed and what point to be actually noted here. Asceticism is no doubt is very healing, number one. Number two is a cave very peaceful. Then, of course, we can find hilltops wonderfully pleasant. But problem is that nevertheless, do thou act in the world as God intended thee? That is what the point to be noted and point to be followed. Again, steer in the cold here. Why dost thou recoil from a mask? Now itself, everywhere the mask you are very much familiar. So you know, why dost thou recoil from a mask? Recoil from a mask behind its odious, grotesque, or terrible seemings. Krishna laughs. That is what we see. Krishna laughs. From where? From the mask. That's how the mask is. Behind its odious, grotesque, or terrible seemings, Krishna laughs at thy foolish anger, thy more foolish scorn or loathing, and thy most foolish terror. That's what behind the mask you have to observe a lot of things, dear Vinod. That's what categorically speaks. Categorically tries to explain. Of course, we must know what really Sri Aurobindo wants to tell. I will try to repeat it again here. Why dost thou recoil from a mask behind its odious, grotesque, or terrible seemings? Krishna laughs at every foolish anger, thy more foolish scorn or loathing, and thy most foolish terror. That is what really, because we must know behind the veil a lot of things are there. It is, of course, the presence of the laughter of Krishna that we must understand. So again, Sri Aurobindo quotes in aphorism number 297, when thou findest thyself scorning another, very interesting aphorism we find here. When thou findest thyself scorning another, look thou at thy own heart and laugh at thy folly. When thou find thyself scorning another, then itself, instead of doing that, look then at thy own heart and laugh at thy folly. Because you know, when we are looking with a blinded, with a bandaged eye to the world, everything seems null and void. When the eye is covered with a colored glass, things looks color as the glass of the color, glass of the speck. So thing is that when we are pointing one finger to the to somebody, we must remember another from the one heart, another fingers are straight pointing at us. That's what we must know. Avoid vain disputing. That's what again here in the quotes. Avoid vain disputing, but exchange views freely. Be in an amicable, act in an amicable manner. Be very amicable to others. Be very friendly. Here in the quotes. Avoid vain disputing, but exchange views freely. Mother is having a beautiful observation. When two men quarrel, when there is a quarrel between two, both are at wrong. So you can see he has done such and such, he was the aggressor. Anyway, I have also got the fault. So both are at the wrong. Avoid vain disputing, but exchange views freely. If dispute thus must, if you feel dispute thus must, learn from thy adversary. For even from a fool, if thou listen not with the ear and the reasoning mind, but the soul's light, thou canst gather much wisdom. So just imagine that dispute must be avoided, quarrel no more necessary, things not to be considered in the mind or in the external reasoning mind. So everything must be seen and experienced, of course, analyzed in the vision of the soul, soul's light. Thou canst gather much wisdom. This experience must be taken when you are in the falling into the trap of dispute. Against your in the quotes in 299, very interesting. Turn all things to honey. It is necessary. Turn all things to honey. That is what the requirement. Turn all things to honey. This is the law of the divine living. Law of the divine living. Very interesting. It gathers a lot of momentum. It speaks a lot of things on the law rule. Turn all things to honey. This is the law of divine living. You know, living so far our ashram life or our life is concerned, nothing fixed rule is there. So, law of divine living, when it has been put, Sri Aurobindo, but interestingly observe, very fantastically observes, turn all things to honey. That great sweetness will be there, that immortality will be there, that longevity is there. This is the law of divine living. Again, private dispute, again, about the dispute. Private dispute should always be avoided, because previously it has been told avoid vain disputing. Here Sri Aurobindo quotes avoid private dispute should always be avoided, but shrink not from the public battles. Very interesting. One way yes, another way no. Avoid disputing initial, it is a universal term. Sri Aurobindo then quoted here avoid public disputing, avoid private disputing, sorry, private dispute should always be avoided, but shrink not from the public battle, yet even there appreciate the state of thy adversary. There also, even there appreciate the strength of thy adversary, because it is you are for here you are standing for the society at large. You are not here to live for yourself. It is there, it is your duty there to save, to come forward to save the struggling and fallen world. You have got your duty. You are having some mission without it, without which you can't escape. That mission we have, you have come with the mission, and this mission must be worked out, chucked out in detail. Anyway, here in the quotes again, when thou hearest an opinion, again, same line we are continuing. When thou hearest an opinion that displeases thee, opinion thou hearest that displeases thee, study and find out the truth in it. Some dispute is there, some opinion is there. Naturally, some opinion we are here not to very on everything seems unbearable sometimes, because we are not ready really, we are not prepared to face the opinion. Sometimes that opinion will come because it is a common system. Opinions will come. When thou hearest an opinion that displeases you, or some opinions they may please you, some opinions are there, it is actually very much displeasing, maybe it may displease you. Suppose that opinion is displeasing you, then find out the truth, because if without fire there is no smoke. So something will be there. So don't be something like thick skinned or reactive. Try to find the hidden truth behind the opinion. Again, the medieval ascetics hated women. Already we have discussed. The medieval ascetics hated women and thought they are created by God for the temptation of monks. We have known, even most of the teams, times we have seen as the Menak attempted, that great saint you have seen, Vishwamitra. So medieval ascetics hated women and thought they are created by God for the temptation of monks. One may be allowed to think more nobly both of God and of woman. That's what's here in the course. So why unnecessary you are having blaming them? Why these ascetics are blaming, hating, and of course blaming the women, and they thought they are created by God for the temptation of monks. That's what here silently, in a very passionate manner, Sri Aurobindo tries to bring out an option, bring out an conclusion. One may be allowed to think. One may be allowed to think. Must not, none can't think. No, nothing other helping verbs are Sri Aurobindo using. One may be allowed to think more nobly both of God and of woman. That's what the creation, their work, their turning, everything must be politely, nobly, must be reconsider, of course, sin. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully here, man labors only after success. Men labor only after success, and if they are fortunate enough to fail. Fortunate enough to fail. Just imagine how Sri Aurobindo is using. Men labor only after success, and if they are fortunate enough to fail, it is because the wisdom and the force of nature overbear their intellectual clevernesses. When we feel we are clear, that is intellectual is actually, it is inconscience, it is actually, ignorance, born out of intelligence, ignorance. So men labor only after success, and if they are fortunate enough to fail, if they fail, then what happens? It is because the wisdom and the force of nature overbear their intellectual cleverness. God alone knows when and how to blunder wisely and fail effectively. Most of the time mother is having a beautiful observation, that's what we have seen. Thou sayest, I have failed, but it is a error. What really I should say, I should think, I should say, well, really God is winding me in his own intended way, where really I will fit and what can be done in his intended and of course planned way. God is actually carrying me forward. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes, distrust the man who never failed and suffered. Most of the time, people claim, I have never failed in life, of course. That's what Sri Aurobindo quotes, distrust the man who has never failed and suffered. Follow not his fortunes, fight not under his banner, because he is simply lying without failure. A big the building can never be erased. Big structure can never be erased. Failure is the pillar of success. Out of numberless failures, this success is coming. So you must learn from experience. So if somebody is quoting, explaining that he has never failed in life, naturally you must not you must not trust him. And the second thing, you must not fight under his banner. You will never follow his fortunes. Again, next one, Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully, 309. There are two who are unfit for greatness and freedom. There are two who are unfit for greatness and freedom. Actually, most of the time we see the positive side, fit for freedom, but here in the course here, unfit for freedom. Who are they really? The man who has never been slave to another. Second, who a man who has never been slave to another, because we know that's what we normally, verbally, and essentially we had to be slave of another. But during the course, he is unfit to be for greatness and the freedom. The man who has never been a slave to another. Second, the nation that has never been under the yoke of foreigners. That must be understood. They can't be fit for greatness and freedom too. Number one about the man, number two about the country, nation. Man who has never been a slave to another, this is the first condition, this is the first one. And the nation on the second, we can find who has never been under the yoke of foreigners. They can't be fit for freedom and of course greatness. Another beautiful aphorism we hear in the form of 2, 3, 10. Fix not the time and the way in which the ideal shall be fulfilled. It is a great process. Don't think that I am satisfied. When somebody feels satisfied, then his next step is actually definitely towards the grave. When somebody stops aspiring, he begins to die. Those great messages have been messages we have heard from a mother, we have listened, we have analyzed in many occasions. Here also, Sri Aurobindo quotes, fix not time and the way. Fix not the time and the way in which the ideal shall be fulfilled. Ideal should be fulfilled, it needs its maturity. As we know, Mother Course, do not work here and there. Try to fulfill one work in the perfect way, then you go to start the second one. Simultaneously, couple of terms we need out of our ignorance or out of greed or something out of our ego. But thing is, one must be completed before the second is done. Still in the course here, fix not the time and the way in which the ideal shall be fulfilled. It requires every day try to better it. Don't satisfied with the way of working and the fulfillment, because you have to do a lot of things later. A lot of things is intended from you. Work and leave time and wait to God all knowing, because he knows he has to fix and he has to carry out anyway. It is a great aphorism. It is a great discussion. I think we will be interested in knowing a very much essentially will lot know a lot. Finally, we'll see. Three times God laughed at Sankara. Sankara, the great, the Advaitavadi, we know. Three times God laughed at Sankara. First, when he returned to burn the corpse of his mother. That is number one. Again, when he commented on Isha Upanishad, and the third time when he stormed about India preaching in action. So, three things we have seen. When he committed these three, God laughed at him. First, number one, when he returned to burn the corpse of his mother. Second, when he commented on Isha Upanishad. And the third, when he stormed about India preaching in action. So these are the three things, three occasions when God laughed at Shankar. Naturally, it is interesting. We will say here actually it is the call of time to stop. Bande Matram.